everybody, and welcome to another episode of the RXP podcast, where four working professionals come together to talk about their love for movies, TV shows, gaming, books, gaming, TV shows, everything. We're going to talk about it all. And this is episode 93. You guys, can you believe it? My name's Tiffany. I'm hosting today's episode, and I found that out 5 minutes ago. And I'm here with my friends, my co-hosts, Alex.
I am not hosting this episode.
Matt.
I'm not hosting this episode.
And Yasser.
Alex is very upset that I'm not hosting this episode.
He has yet to host episode.
A little stat keeper over there. Listen, y'all, audience, we just want you to know that we love to talk. But then moderating the episode, just a little bit of different kind of vibe and pressure. You know what I mean? So we spread it out. We try to spread out the love here. Maybe one day Yasser will grace us for a special episode, that Patreon supported, look.
That's right.
Maybe, yeah, Yasser's going to
$100 tier, probably.
Yeah. He will host a quarterly episode.
A special episode.
Yeah.
Or maybe the 100th episode.
Maybe the 100th episode.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Listen, you say that, but that's pretty close. We're on 93.
Oh my gosh. But to be fair, so Yasser suggested a topic, and I was like, you know what? I kind of do vibe with that. So today, our tagline here, working professionals, juggling, all of our various hobbies. We also love to recommend experiences here, and so that you can juggle your own, work-life balance and insert in that recommendation that we like to give. So how do we juggle? How do we balance our own hobbies, right? Like, let's break it out. We love all the things I've mentioned, movies, books, video games, etc. But how do we really balance it? Does anything ever fall to the wayside for you guys?
Definitely books.
Okay, that's
if
fair.
we talk about our goals later, books have definitely fallen by the wayside. Because for me, I feel like you have to kind of you can't really schedule a little bit of time. At least for me. I know you probably I don't agree with that. But for me, I have to almost quiet the inside of myself to be able to read and not just have something visually in front of me. To me, that's the first thing to go. I can plan a movie. I can plan a movie about my day. Gaming, easy. Usually, unless it's a co-op, maybe we have to do a little bit more scheduling.
Scheduling dance.
TV show for sure. That is quick stuff. Invincible, the second part of season 2 is dropping every week. It's an easy 50 minutes that I just here and there, brewing coffee in the morning, just pop that bad boy on. It is easy.
Really?
Books though, really tough.
So would you say do you balance, do you think you actually give the three of those items, TV shows, movies, and games, do you give them an equal amount of time in your life?
Not equal. I find that I lean more towards one thing. It's particularly and it changes. A lot of time it's gaming, but a lot of time recently it's been more towards movies where I'm just watching more and more movies. So I might prioritize that instead of starting new shows. But a weekly release of a TV show, I find that I have 45, 50-minute blocks in a week, at least once or twice a week that I'm just I've got a little bit of time to kill. I can pop on a TV show, especially the week releases. I don't get as bogged down about it because it's only one at a time, and I don't have to feel pressured. Oh, I gotta finish this full season. I just have a little bit of time. Gaming, I do have it's tough. I'm trying my best on balancing a lot of big games right now, and I'm trying my best. I'm not doing the best, but it's a balance, like you said.
Yeah, I honestly agree with a lot of that. For me, I feel it's just more on a whim of what I'm feeling doing, and I don't try to focus too much on the end goal. I try to incorporate it the best I can, but really if it's I can't do anything for today, that's fine. And then the next day I might be doing three the different things, watching a movie, playing a game. When I have the time, I definitely try to. So I tried not to focus too much on them. But at the same time, because I do that, a lot of times my goals kind of just like fall by the wayside because I kind of just let them come as I have the time. And so as a result, like right now, I haven't made a dent in my booking goal. I'm just gonna, or my book goal. I'm gonna just say that right now. But I know I'm gonna get that done by the end of the year. It's just
right.
Sometimes you kind of go through those peaks and valleys of how much time you kind of put into specific parts of your life.
I feel like the one thing that, like, resonates with me about that, Yas, is like sometimes you just like go based on feel. Like sometimes I'm like, I've got like 2 hours that I know that I'm gonna have at the end of this night. This is perfect Final Fantasy VII Rebirth time. Like I could just like plug in on the big screen and like really get to it. You know, maybe like find some towers, maybe like talk to Chadley, maybe do blah blah blah, and then I maybe have like an awful day at work, and I'm like, the last thing I want to do is do anything for Chadley at this moment. Like that is the last thing. I will punch that little AI robot. And you know what? I just find myself playing Power Wash Simulator, and it's like at this point I've platinumed it. I've gotten all the DLC, and it's like that is not helping any of the goals. But at the end of the day, it's like, man, that is what I need at that moment. Is just to like unwind, just like veg out, and you know, go do Back to the Future DLC again. Like it is just like something that you need instead of kind of like forcing yourself like, man, I got to catch up Rebirth because Alex is like a half a plat away from me at this point because he's like already moved on to like the bigger, better things because he got through Rebirth crazy fast.
Yeah, Alex, do you find yourself balancing things, or do you just prioritize one thing over another?
I think like the advantage I have is, you know, you have the list of things you want to get to, but more so than kind of balancing, I just, you know, pick one and then like laser focus onto it, you know, a la like with Rebirth recently, as Matt was talking about, how, you know, obviously there's a lot of things I want to get to in general, but at the moment, right, Rebirth being the hot new thing at the time was something easy for me to just invest into and just kind of shotgun all the way through it without any distractions. I feel like for me, that's how I can get the most out of stuff, is just kind of saying, I know I have a bunch of things I want to do, but it's probably most effective for me and my enjoyment, right? Because obviously with, you know, as time goes on, right, especially if we're talking about games, but not necessarily for, you know, shorter, you know, much shorter things like movies or shows, that those, right, typically don't suffer from, let's say, watching it over a period of time. But I feel like with the game, right, because it's, you know, magnitude order longer, right, to get through a game, like Rebirth in particular, right, it's like technically a season of TV, let's say, is like 8 hours, right, 8 episodes an hour each. You're looking at 10 times that for something like Rebirth. And so it's kind of like seeing that distributing 80 hours over a longer period of time feels like it's just been going on much longer because you've put so much time into it, right? As opposed to just kind of wrapping, like starting it, you know, binging it essentially and getting it done. And so for me, there's a lot more gratification like when I get to the end to say, okay, I'm done with this. I had a great time, right? It's 80 plus hours, but it's not 80 plus hours of torture, right? I'm still enjoying the whole time I'm getting through it. And so being able to wrap that up and say, this is done, I had a great time, this was my experience, move on to the next thing, is kind of a better way for me to kind of package things to say, I've worked on this, you know, I have thoughts, and obviously, you know, look forward to a future Final Fantasy VII Rebirth peer review that will come down later in the upload feed, you know, whenever Matt gets done with it, which might be in 6 months, who knows. And
got to get it done before 1,000 Year Door drops next month.
Oh, okay. That good. Then we kind of have a timeline for that. But yeah, so being able to kind of like bookmark these things to say, done with this, move on to the next, is just easier to kind of motivate myself as well, right? Because like seeing these long ventures, it's sometimes hard, as Matt was saying, right? Like let's say, you know, you have 2 hours, but then you get to it and you're like, do I really want to spend 2 hours just doing these like sim fights? And maybe not today, I might do something else. But then it's kind of easier once you kind of just say, I'm going to get through it, I'll be done with it. And, you know, it's 2 hours you're going to have to spend at some point. And so it's just kind of a nice wrapping.
Do you, when you say you laser focus in, are you saying that you've just like accepted, oh, until I'm done, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm playing, this is what I'm reading, that's what I'm watching?
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
I try not, at least at this point, I try not to intermingle between the same thing. So yeah, if it's a game, it's typically just the one game. It's a book, it's just the one book. If it's a show,
Mm.
I enjoy it better, right? Because there's also more continuity there, where you're not necessarily like mixing up things between other stuff to say. Especially with games, a lot of it comes down to the mechanics, where if I'm playing one game and right, the controllers are different than another, it
Right.
gets a little bit more annoying to have to go back and forth. Whereas like with a show or movie, maybe you can intermingle those things, it's not as bad. But the physicality of games kind of adds that extra layer of, oh god, I forgot, like in this game, it's toggle, but another one it's hold, that type of thing.
The physicality. That's a fair point. Honestly, I respect the hell out of that because I totally agree. Like when you kind of laser focus into an experience, you really do get the most out of it in that sense. And I'm that way for specific things, like movies, for example. Like I can't cut it off halfway through. If I do that, it means I'm not going to finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for games, like I find myself like going back and forth all the time because I have like different moods for depending on like what time of the day I'm free versus like what I'm feeling that day, et cetera, et cetera. But I totally get where you're coming from. Like if I did laser focus in, I do think I would experience the game differently, especially if it's like a narrative game, right? Where like being kind of encapsulated into that world is kind of part of the experience. So I definitely respect that. I just can't do it as well as you probably do.
I'm going to be honest. What's so interesting, Yasser, the way that you described the way that you play video games is how I describe how I read books. And
Really?
yeah, I am the definition of a mood reader. And so I am actively per my Goodreads, I'm actively in 13 books simultaneously. But some of them have been paused for a very long time. Like I would say years.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
leave them there under currently reading because I'm like, I will go back to it eventually.
That's exactly how I game.
Yeah. So, which I kind of game that way too, but we're not going to talk about that right now. So in terms of like books, like I have a audiobook. I usually have an audio. Nowadays, I have an audiobook because I recently got into those. I have an audiobook and I have like 3 different books that I'm sort of like in the middle of like reading in terms of I'll start one and if I love it, I will binge it. This is also where I'm like this amalgamation of Yasser and Alex because Alex is talking about laser focusing in on his hobbies as like a positive thing. And I almost see the way that I handle my hobbies as a negative thing because my issue is I feel that I'm a huge, I say I'm a mood reader. Mood really drives a lot of my hobbies, but I'm a horrible binge reader, binge watcher, I need to binge. And so if I start a book, if I'm invested, I will try to one-shot that sucker. Like,
Oh my gosh.
I will try to finish it immediately. I've stayed up till 2, 3 a.m. trying to finish the book. A Kindle will tell me you have estimated 2 hours left on your book because of, learning your reading speed. And I'm looking and it's midnight. I'm like, I'm probably going to finish this by 1:30. Like, I will.
Challenge
Yeah,
accepted.
exactly. I'm like, challenge accepted. And so I try to get through it. I tell myself if there's a show that I'm interested in, if all the episodes are out and there's like 8 episodes, I make myself try to start the show by noon on a weekday. On a weekend. Because in case I'm in, I will. I want to watch it all. Alex has also told me how shocked he is at how I can have gaming sessions that are literally like 12 hours long on a weekend. Like I've literally woken up, started a game at 10 a.m. and then like logged off at like 12:30 at a.m. I mean, like I break to like eat dinner or something,
Sure,
or like
sure.
eat lunch and dinner, but like that's like what I could be like 2-3 hours, and then I'm like back in it. And he's like, I can't play games like that anymore. And I'm like, well, if I'm invested in, I'm just like, I'm just trying to power through. Also, I do habitually walk away. So part of my binging is to make
Fantasy
myself
15.
shut up. How dare you? How dare you? But yes, like I'm like, oh, if I keep my momentum up, like I can get it done. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, is this like basically I like waffle, but I also like will ignore things. to complete the current hobby that I'm in, and then like
It's
go
a
back.
momentum thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all it
Yeah, for
is.
sure.
Yeah, like I
I kind
started
of like
the year
appreciate that though.
like reading. I started the year reading, and I'm not gonna lie, I looked at some benchmarks. I was like, okay, well, my book is coming out at the end of January, and then the next book that I'm actually interested in is in April. So if I just like between like February and March, maybe March will be Final Fantasy Rebirth for me, because like I should be done by my reading. But no, I'm like still in the thick of like just reading
Yeah.
like dozens of books.
I think
Yeah,
there's
I think
like
that's oops.
Go ahead, Alex.
Go ahead. Yeah.
it's this strange thing though, because it's you can most mediums, right, like most of this entertainment is linear, right? So with like books, with movies, with shows, it's you kind of have the one path where you have to go through it all to get through it, but games have that extra toggle where it's like, oh, typically there is the core game, but then there's optional things in the game, right? Like things you don't have to do to see the ending.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's the extra layer within gaming that adds more flexibility to it, to say, right, obviously, well known on this podcast, Matt and I, trophy enthusiasts, if you will. And sometimes there's this layer of saying, well, for the most part, a lot of games I pick up, right, there is kind of this secondary intention to say, hey, this could be a game I get 100% of the trophies in, right? It's something that is always possible.
Right.
But at the same time, as you go through it, as the push and pull of the game, which might be your level of enjoyment or might be the difficulty of it or what have you, kind of helps, I guess, alter that perspective where it might be something I thought I could get the platinum in, but then obviously there's going to be at some point where I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's not in the cards for this game, but that doesn't mean it's not saying I don't like it, but it's just saying I'm not willing to invest the time now to, pursue it. And so you can alter that trajectory to say, hey, this is something I could see taking like 40, 50 hours if I want to complete, right, 100% it. But I can chop that in half, right, if I just do the story and kind of move on type of thing. And so there's this weird kind of timing that you can just adjust, whereas like everything else, right, you're not typically, or at least I don't think you'd skip an episode or skip parts of a movie or skip parts of a book, right? It's like those things are going to get through it, everything, right, to see it through to the end, whereas games have that extra saying, hey, I would have done this, but at this point, I just want to roll credits, right? Obviously, with Matt and Rebirth, that's not going to happen, right? He's committed to that platinum journey. But, some of the games I'm picking up, like going into the future, I see, hey, there are things I want to play. There's so many things. If I actually want to get through them all relatively soon, right, and not like push these into 2025, I can't be doing the platinum for everything. That's just not possible. But I do want to at least enjoy the main story and have that first time experience.
What's also crazy to me is that like outside the pod, Alex and I had this very short conversation about how when you like choose a book series, for example, or a TV show, you don't, even though people are like, oh, season one was so bad, like you need to just power through season one, and once you get to season two, it's like the moneymaker. And like Alex was like, I've played video games without playing the first one or the second one, like literally Witcher 3, like you just jumped in. And I was like, oh my God, like I would never pick up a sequel of a book to then just read. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if people were like, oh, the first book was really rough, but, that was their debut novel, it really kicks in, book 2, and the third book is a masterpiece or whatever, I would suffer my way through that first book to get to, quote unquote, the good part, which could delay, other hobbies from that aspect.
What's kind of like what you're doing with Crisis Core, right? Like you're playing Crisis Core to set up your Rebirth, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh, man. Honestly, Matt, that is such a good segue. Cause like
we played it. We
played it. Yeah, I actually was about to start Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I was like, wait a minute. I literally bought Crisis Core the day it came out, and it's supposed to be played in between. And so I was like, I need to play this before, because the more I think about it now, I don't know that I've personally ever jumped into a video game without playing the previous. I mean, literally, you guys could probably name a game that I've played that I can't Like, I mean,
Animal
I'm
Crossing.
gonna be like, you're right. No, but that doesn't count. That's like a standalone. I would say interconnected standalone is what I would call that game.
Hey
But
man, Tom Nook is collecting dead all over the planet.
yeah, okay.
On this island in
And-
your town.
in the village,
It's the
whatever.
same Tom Nook.
Yeah, it's the same. But yeah, so I am playing Crisis Core, and I think I almost have like 18 hours in that game, and
Love that.
I'm in chapter 8. I'm not.
I can't remember how many chapters there were.
So
do you know how many chapters there are?
There's technically 11 because there's a chapter
Okay.
0.
Oh, that's
So
pretty
like
close.
chapter 10 is like
It's
the
pretty
last.
far.
Yeah, I'm pretty far.
Yeah.
I'm playing missions. Alex is like, you don't need to do the missions. There's 300 missions. Like, you don't need to do all of them. I'm like, you're
Unless
right.
you're doing the platinum. Like, that platinum about broke me this year. That was this year, wasn't it?
No,
It was.
Matt.
I
Wait,
think it was
when-
for me. I think it was this year for me.
Wait, Alex,
Or
when
was
did that
it
game
last
come
When you
out?
played
I
Crisis
thought that
Core.
game came out in like 2021. Am I like? Oh no, 2022.
No, it's when Matt
2022.
played it.
But
is
when
what
I
you're saying.
played
Oh,
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you
yeah.
played it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's no way I'm getting that platinum because guess what? It has that trophy where it says beat the game on hard mode, and I am anti games that make you play the game again,
Yep.
like immediately. Like
Mhm.
I you're lucky
Can
I
I-
finished your game.
Can I talk
I don't
about
have
something
time
really
to
quick?
play it again. Yeah, absolutely.
Here's the thing. All right. I love trophies. I love trophies.
Matt.
I love seeing 100% next to it. And you know what really grinds my gears is when you play Spider-Man 2, you get 100%, you get the platinum, and then they add one trophy as for a new game plus run that's a silver trophy. And now in PSN profiles, I no longer have an S rank for having 100% because it's a silver trophy and enough people have gotten it. I have a B, not even an A. A B. I only have one trophy to go.
Mediocrity there.
It is
These get
unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
that
because-
just
that
like
was a rant and a half.
that drives
So-
me insane.
You keep your plat, but you lose your rating. That's what you're saying?
Right?
But on a
Yeah, it's like a
platform
PSN
that
profile
doesn't
thing.
matter,
Yeah.
Matt.
I see. I
A
see.
platform
It does
that does.
matter.
Oh
It
my
does
gosh,
matter to
okay.
me.
Who looks
Alex,
at
Alex, do you look at PSN profiles?
All I'm saying is I think I'm rank 18,000 in the country, you know, so I'm pretty high
Oh
up
my
in
God.
the country. Like
So
for the
he
US.
does.
That's
look.
awesome.
He does look confirmed.
yes.
Alex and I know I look at least once a week, if not twice a week. Even if I'm not playing anything on PlayStation, I'll just like look. I'll check in on Alex, see where he's at. Like I'll figure out because then you have milestones. Alex just hit a huge milestone. Because
did.
his
'Cause
was
he
it 10,000 trophy?
10,000 total trophies and 150 platinums. Now 151.
Crazy.
He's like
Crazy.
got it all in his head.
Yeah,
he knows the numbers.
He's like, well, these
I
are
mean,
my statistics.
and these are milestones,
deal.
right? Over the past
Yeah.
more than a decade of gaming, right? On the
Yeah,
on the
that's true.
platform. From the first moment, right? Like the very first trophy I got, Little Big Planet on PS3.
Okay.
And
Nice.
so like seeing that journey and kind of keeping that in mind to say, right, a lot of my gaming is that kind of trophy assisted motivation as well. And so
Yeah.
that's also kind of
Mhm.
helped keep it in line to say, hey, you know, I might enjoy a game, and there are a lot of games I play on console that I, you know, do it specifically for the platinum, but then also a lot of things I just play because, right, I enjoy it. You know, it's not necessarily something I'm gunning for the platinum for. So it's not to say I dictate my experiences via that, but it helps kind of say, hey, maybe don't spend as much time on this because yes, it's a great game, but there are other things you can do. And so that kind of helps like control my intention to say, I love this. This was great. Maybe I'll come back to it, right? Because God knows how many. I mean, in particular, I just want to shout out, I do have one game I could get the platinum on that's really, you know, it's same as Tiffany's conundrum right now. I have to replay this story on hard mode, and it's more so a matter of I just need to do it, but it's that thing of like, do I really want to do it? Albeit it is a very short but great game. You know, Titanfall 2. Shout out.
Oh, nice. Yeah, very underrated gem. I only say that because like literally every Redditor says that. Underrated
It's
gem,
true.
it's on sale, buy it.
yeah.
I mean, it regularly goes on sale for like $2,
It does.
like $3.
Yeah.
Like,
It's totally worth the
you-
experience, right?
Yeah, just for the single player. Like, I don't know if the multiplayer
Yeah.
servers are still live, but the single player is definitely worth
It's probably
like a
dead.
few
When-
bucks.
when they
Skip a
drop
cup of
Mechs
coffee.
in Helldivers 2, they're like, Helldivers 2, finally, Titanfall 3, it's here, guys. Reddit goes crazy for Titanfall 2.
Yeah, they're the homies for Titanfall. Listen, hearing all you guys talk about like your motivations and like how you guys experience various different parts of media is really all very interesting, because it's funny to see like the differences and how like we're similar, but also just like variances between how we look at like how we game, how we watch movies, how we watch TV shows. Like I'm kind of like you in a way, Tiffany, where I can get into like a binge mode, but for me, it has to be like a group or social experience, and then I'm like willing to play 10 hours straight of a game.
Okay.
So whether it be like watching a show with somebody and we just like end up watching multiple episodes, I would never do that alone. If I'm playing a game like The Forest with like a co-op buddy, we can end up playing that for 10 hours straight. And I wouldn't easily lose track of time and just not even realize. But for me, that's like the only way I can do that. Whenever I'm doing something on my own, I'm much more like strict with my time. Like, okay, this has been enough. Let's go do something else now because I've been doing this for too long. And then I just like that switch just completely switches off if it's a social experience in some way or fashion.
That's so interesting. I do have to say that I definitely very much enjoy a good group watch. And there are shows that listen, if I start a show with a friend, like at their abode or whatever, we're doing it online, it's an unwritten like handshake that we are now committed in a relationship. We are committed.
You can't cheat on them.
We cannot cheat, or we need to have a discussion that can we both agree that we will be watching separately, or
there needs to be consent.
Yeah, there needs to be. We both need to consent to like we will be severing our relationship to continue this, or I will be upfront and say I will not wait for you, but I will rewatch the episode again with you at your time and place.
Communication is key.
Yes, I'm very pro communication. I hate miscommunication, which is a huge trope in a lot of romance novels. Just FYI, hate it. Worst trope ever. But yeah, I definitely have those shows too where I'm like, oh my god, the season just dropped on Netflix. Let's make a date. I'm coming over. I'm gonna eat lunch and dinner at your house. I'll bring LaCroix. like let's book it.
Yeah, I'm totally in on that too. I feel the same way about games sometimes. Like if it's a game where you play with multiple people, then you just like have this group and you're like, okay, now we're all committed together. We started this together. If someone can't make it, we just got to wait. We got to wait till we can all make it again. And then you have a game where you don't finish it for 2 years. It just happens sometimes.
Yep.
But you know, like you try to keep that group connected so that you don't lose like the progress. And
listen, what do you mean shade? I don't know why Alex is giving shade.
I'm just reminding Matt.
No, but Alex also should have some shame because he straight up just abandoned Matt at one game and just like got the platinum on his own. So I don't know. I don't think they communicated. Like
that was a dark time in our friendship.
The mining.
I had to get it by myself.
The that mining thing, not Minecraft. Make your miner.
Valhalla?
Meet your maker.
Or meet your.
Meet your miner. It's a way different game.
I'm pretty sure Alex just got the plat on his own and like left Matt in the dust on that one. But I don't know if you had to communicate. I don't know if you were in a committed relationship on that one, but I thought you did. So
I mean, there's a lot though that you can't like. It's on your own. Like you can't do it with other people. Like there are things you can do with other people, but there's stuff that's like it's built around like you as the maker. So it's like this weird like. It's both a solo game yet co-op game at the same time type of experience.
At least as far as the plat's concerned, right?
We both have plats.
Oh, now it's back on.
Now Remnant 2 is just dying in a gutter somewhere.
Okay.
But we'll get back to it.
Help, I've fallen, I can't get up.
I can't get up.
But sometimes you do go back, right? That's all part of the balance. You know? The mood. Listen, I literally this year, you guys, I went back to a book I started in 2015. When I said I went back to it, I did restart it. I restarted the entire series, to be frank.
You kind of have to after that much time.
Yeah, but I literally like I opened
9 years. Psh.
I opened up the file on my Kindle and it literally showed me the place I stopped. I was like 46% into that book and I just like dropped it. And so like when I opened the file back, Kindle never forgets, which I'm in love with, by the way. I'm honest, that's kind of cool. But yeah, I literally like picked it back up and it was like, here's the page that you last read, and I was like, oh my god, I was halfway through this book and I just like left. Which, funnily enough, when I finished it, you guys, that is my favorite book in the series.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. So far. Yeah.
Was it just like randomly it fell off because other things came up, or you just didn't like it and then when you came back you enjoyed it?
Honestly, Yasser, that's a really good question. I think that I had to pause for whatever reason, and then life must have gotten in the way.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Happens all the time.
Yeah. It just gets in there. And then sometimes, Yasser, books, I like won't vibe with it anymore. Like I'll just be like, oh, I don't want to read that. Let me read something else. And then I'll like read like something else. I'll finish 4 other books and then I'll go back to it. I'm like, okay, I might as well just finish this one now.
Listen, I've dropped some games because it's like not the right season to play it.
Yeah.
I've literally done that.
Yeah.
It's like I'll just wait till like winter next year or Halloween next year because it's a spooky game I want to play in October. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of my favorite games were shelved for the longest time. Dark Souls 1, like completely did not understand it. Waited 2 or 3 years after getting it and then came back to it. And it's one of my favorite gaming series now to date.
Yeah,
like,
that's
Yasser
crazy.
and I were just talking about it before everybody hopped on. Like, you get into these moods of like, I get this way a lot when it's when I get like overwhelmed with different open worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Like Breath of the Wild, that I
Open
started
worlds,
it,
man.
went halfway, and then stopped. And I did the same thing with Tears of the Kingdom last year. I'll probably get back to it. Like, I know I'll finish it at some point.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be anytime soon. Like, it's just you're just like, I'm not in the mood for that. Like, when I like want to jump into a huge game, like, I know as soon as I start a game, I knew as soon as I started Rebirth's demo, I'm like, this is going to consume my life. Like, I don't care how long it takes. I'm 70 hours in. It could take me another 30, 40, 50 hours to get the plat. I'm like, I'm okay with that.
You're like, this is just really hitting the spot. You're eating.
I've got all my best friends here. I've got Tifa. I've got Aerith. I've got Barrett. We're all just here.
Red
Chadley, get out of here. Chadley, get out of here.
What about Mai, though? Is Mai your friend?
I like Mai. Mainly because Chadley doesn't like Mai.
Oh.
I'm like, Mai must be good. Mai must be
May
good.
I ask, even though I have no idea what you're talking about, who did you choose to romance?
It hasn't happened yet. Like,
you're 70 hours in and it hasn't happened yet. What is that?
I think you go on a date.
It's a long-term relationship.
I think you go on a date later in the game. I've heard people talk about that you go on a date at some point, and I have not been on a date. Except one that I feel like was just like everybody had the same date. I'm hoping that I'm with
special.
Well, like it was like
you just said that. It was so funny.
It was like a date that like drove the story forward. So I was like, this is not the date that they must be talking about. So maybe that was. But I hope it's with Tifa. I love
that's who you're eyeing.
Tifa's great.
Okay.
Childhood friend. Like that's just great, and she's
friends
awesome.
to lovers.
And
that's a huge trope.
Like I just like how practical she is too, because she's always in my party because she builds up staggers super well, and like we just melt some bosses, like just melt.
I see.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's some utility in that relationship
too. You have to have respect, right? You have to respect for this person. So anyway,
right.
Okay.
Does this happen?
I feel that way.
Confirmed
this has happened for me in Mass Effect.
Wait, Alex, what did you just say?
He doesn't respect Aerith.
Oh man,
I do respect Aerith. She just respectfully is on the bench.
Dang.
I have felt the same way about characters and like who you choose to romance in Mass Effect, because it's an important part of your squad who you bring along and who you level up. And so if Ashley is like just like awful as a character to have with you all the time, like why would you want to romance her? So I mean, I feel like that's a very important point that people don't bring up very often.
No, listen,
but here's
I get
another
it.
thing, because I think you and another one of our homies that plays DBD with us low-key dropped so much shade when I said that I romanced Ashley in one of the games.
Was it Cody?
I think it was Cody. He was like, "Oh no! Oh, you gotta replay
Did you
it
know
again."
her voice actor did this and this?
He's
my
like,
God.
"There's only one right answer." It's like, Cody, last time I checked, there's like 8 people you can romance.
I'm pretty sure he said that she was racist. Hate to
That
see it.
checks out.
Dang. Okay,
Anyway.
you guys. I mean, do any of you? Okay, granted, the 4 of us have full-time jobs that have nothing to do with writing, video gaming, or whatever. But I want to get a vibe check on, do you ever lament like, oh man, I really want to get back to that thing, or do you ever feel like crushing depression for not having enough time to do your hobbies essentially? Or like, you know what I mean? Because like even though like I've abandoned like TV show watching for the last like 3 months, I'm like not sad about it. You know, I'm like, oh, I should really watch that. Like, I did watch all of Avatar: The Last Airbender live action Netflix on a weekend.
How was
and
it?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Did you like it
As a
better
person
than the
who
live
watched-
action movie?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
100%.
Oh.
The live action movie was horrific.
Yeah, no, I was gonna ask that. I was gonna ask, did you watch the anime and did you like it better than that, or
So
did you not watch that?
I never finished the anime.
Okay.
I watched all of season 1 and parts of season 2 and just never finished it. But I thought that, so like the plot in season 1 of live action Avatar matched up with what I know from the anime, and I enjoyed it still. I thought it was a decent adaptation. People have disagreed with me. Like people have actively said it's horrible, and I look at them and I'm like, well, I liked it. I liked it. Huh. I've also told them though, I personally like Legend of Korra more than Avatar: The Last Airbender. I know that's kind of rough comparison because I never officially finished Avatar: The Last Airbender, but I watched all of Legend of Korra and I really liked it. Like I really vibed with that one. And honestly, part of it might have been too, like I watched it when I was in my, mid-20s, I think, and I vibed with a teenage girl more than a 12-year-old boy. like do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Makes sense. Checks out.
Or not vibe. I don't even know if
Honestly,
vibe is right. It's like a related, but yeah.
Yeah. I feel like most people I've talked to in general have liked the show. But anyways, to answer your question, I feel like I don't mind it. I don't really take it too hard if I can't fit the time in for some of those kind of like goals or hobbies. Because really, in general, for me, hobbies are just something that I can do in my spare time. And I don't take it too seriously as far as like, oh, I have to do this. Because then it, for me at least, and anything that becomes like a job for me, I end up just immediately not liking it.
Yes.
So it just really has to be natural for me. If I want to play it or want to read it, then that's what I'll do. But if I'm not feeling it, I'm not going to feel bad about like, oh man, I haven't read that book for 2 months now. Like I'll go back to it whenever I feel like it. But for me, it's like not an obligation. I don't want it to be, at least.
Love it. Healthy.
I wish I had more time for all my hobbies, but that's just because I really enjoy all my hobbies. And like I have more hobbies than what we're even talking about, right? Like
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Like I
Golfing?
go to the gym. I go golf. Like I do whatever. Like I enjoy doing other things too that like take up time. And
exactly.
So it's like there's not enough time in the day, but I think that makes it special for when it's like you do have an hour and like you do get to choose like what am I going to spend with that hour, and it makes it a little bit sweeter than maybe if I had 8 hours a day where it was like I could do whatever I want. Like maybe I wouldn't take it as much. Maybe I take it a little bit for granted. So I like the time that I have. I think for me, the older I get and like the busier life gets for me, I really have to plan out everything.
Yeah.
And I have to plan out like, okay, I'm going to watch a movie at this time and I'm going to be really strict about that. And then like, okay, Yas and I are trying to get through Gears 4 because the aforementioned Cody is waiting for us for Gears 5. So like, okay, can we get an hour session in here? And like, we are nickel and diming our time through Gears 4 as much as we can. And it's like been fun. Like but I feel like I'm having to get to that point where if I don't schedule things, they're just not going to happen. And I'll fill it up with other things. Like someone will text me about who knows what, and I'll be lost and I won't have time for my hobbies. So I don't know. I don't know if that sounds lame, but it's like, it's been a practical thing that's like really made it so much easier for me.
No, I love
I totally relate to that too. Like I feel like I have to kind of like, you don't have to totally micromanage it, because you do want to have sort of a feel for what you want to play or do on a regular day. But like you said, like leaving some time in for your hobbies, whether you make that decision ahead of time or not, is really helpful, as like you said, life gets busy and you don't have all the time in the world like you used to.
Yeah.
Where that makes a big difference, especially when you like think about it ahead of time of like, okay, 2 hours after work, that's when I'm gonna like allow myself to do whatever I want, and then after that I need to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for me, the regret only really comes in when it's something of like a missed opportunity, right? Of like availability typically. So if it's something, it's like, oh, it's only accessible to me now, in a more convenient way. Like
right.
it's accessible to me
FOMO.
now. I should get to it before it leaves, right? Like things on, subscription services. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, if it's going to
Huge.
leave in the next month, I better, get through it now before it disappears. Otherwise, I'm going to have to find another way to, get it, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
That kind of happened with The World Ends With You, right? Prior to Rebirth coming out, I was playing that. And then obviously I did a full stop to play Rebirth, but then it left the subscription service while I was playing Rebirth. But luckily you had a copy of it, so I'm able to continue that journey.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things where I knew that ahead of time to say, it's not that bad. I don't finish it now because I can at least resume it later. Otherwise, it'd probably be something of like, maybe I do prioritize this now just to, be able to get through it because I was enjoying it. And so it'd be worse if I don't finish it, at least for me. And so I think that's kind of similar with other things of like, maybe if it's something I know that might be in a rotation, I might wait for it to come back. It's like, oh, I can't get to it now, but there's going to be another time in the future where if it does come back, I'll be able to enjoy it at that point. So it's able to also kind of pace things out to say, not everything needs to be now. It can be later, especially if I know it's going to come back.
Right.
And it's something I'll get to eventually. And you just, you bookmark it, and, once it comes back, you can do it, and then you'll probably enjoy it as much as you did the first time, right? Or as much as you would have the first time if you enjoyed it at this point in time. So that kind of helps kind of pace things out too, to say so many things are releasing right now, in general, and you obviously can't do it all at once unless you're, having like 6 screens and you're just like somehow looking at all of them simultaneously.
Yeah.
But being able to kind of push those out and say, these will be later 2024, right? And then that's kind of nice to kind of segment it out. Obviously something coming up soon. Surprisingly, I almost forgot about it, but I was thinking about it recently. Fallout on Amazon, the TV show, like that's coming up later this month in April. So that's something where I'm like, okay, I'm kind of in that lull period where I'm like, I'm definitely going to be watching that, as soon as it comes out. I don't know if it's going to be in one drop or week by week, but hopefully I'll be able to like watch batch episodes at a time. So that's something that gets pushed up on the list.
Yeah, it'll probably be weekly, I feel like.
Because Amazon usually do weekly?
Yeah, they did that with Wheel of Time and Rings of Power. It was weekly. Alex, when you were saying that, this game is going off subscription service, I should probably get to it. I know Yasser has done that in the past. One of our very first episodes, he was talking about, I'm playing Red Dead Redemption 2 because it's going off the Game Pass soon. When I see a game, or like, when I see stuff like that, it actually prevents me from getting to it. I don't know if it's my mind block.
No, that could be the same thing, right? It's like you won't have time to get to it, so you purposefully push it away. Yeah,
but it's like I know
I
won't finish it. It's not even that I won't, like, I could probably get to it, but I'm not gonna finish it. So like, why bother? And when Yasser was saying that if the hobby turns into an occupation or a job, it's a dissatisfier, I 100% agree. This is also why, like, I cannot actually be in a book club because I read at my own pace, and we could literally if I joined a book club and we literally just picked a book that even was in my wheelhouse, right? Like, let's say it's a fantasy book or a sci-fi book, romance book, whatever. And they're like, okay, we'll regroup in 2 months, like, to talk about it. I don't like having that deadline. How dare you? Like, what? like, no, I'm going to read this whenever the hell I want to read it, whether it's right now or it's in 2 months or 2 months after the date that we are set. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like the pressure of, read this by then. And yes, I've attempted buddy reads. Like, I've picked up a book and be like, hey, do you want to read this with me? And they're like, yeah, that'd be great. And I will either binge it in the weekend that is happening, and my friend reads like a lot slower than me, period. So she's just like, she takes a week and I would take a day and a half. Or we're like on pace and then she's slowly going, and then I suddenly am like, I don't feel like reading this anymore. But like, I have to finish it. I would feel bad. And then she'll be like, I liked it. And I'm like, oh, then I will finish it. I've really improved my dropping my do not finish situation with some books, because I'll pick up some books and I'll be like, this isn't worth anything, so I'm just gonna stop. And like, I'm okay with that. I'm more resistant with video games because I will tell myself, no, I will finish this. Like, I will.
Why do you feel like that is?
I think for me, so for books, because books can be free from the library or free, like, or through Kindle Unlimited,
so
whatever. It's
the price that you paid for it.
Yes.
Okay.
Or in the time investment. It's like, oh, well,
Yeah.
I borrowed this from the library. Oh, this really isn't good. I'm not going to worry about it. There's like, I literally have 800 books I want to read. So
you didn't lose anything by doing that.
Exactly. Versus video games, typically when I decide to invest in purchasing a video game, there is intent there, you know? Like, I've researched it. I'm like, I think I would vibe with this game. I need to buy it. Oh, I bought it. Now I must play it. I must try to finish.
And usually, I feel like you're doing that on release too. Like, you vibe with it, or you feel like you get the hype upon like pre-ordered like time period, and then when it's released, you're ready to roll. You don't usually like find a game that's been out 5 years later, kind of thing, right?
100%. That's an accurate statement. So then I'm like, oh, I'm in it. And then I'm like, oh, life came up. Oh, I'm going to get back to it eventually. Or, you know, so with that accent and everything. But kind of like, okay, so we kind of got a vibe here. We're all happily balancing our hobbies in the way that we enjoy, whether we decide to laser focus in and just do that for a little bit, whether we sprinkle it in throughout the day, you know, in moderation, doing a little bit of everything. We're all cool with that. And so we're doing our best, right? Working and doing our hobbies. So in regards to doing our hobbies, let's do like a quarter of the year check on our 2024 goals. Where are we at, guys? Alex, you want to go first? I'm really curious about your book situation.
So
and also remind us of your goals too, because I completely it took a lot of effort for me to remember my own goals.
Right.
So part of the intention with when I made my goals was to keep it within a very achievable status. So these weren't like numbered or anything. It was just something to say, these are things I want to do. And more often than not, it's going to be something I can make the time for. But obviously having the full year to do it just gives that wiggle room to say, this will be done this year. Right. And so it's not necessarily putting a deadline, like Tiffany said, of like having a book club, but it's a deadline like throughout the whole year, but it's something that I could do, you know, technically.
Still flexible in a way, right?
Yeah. Like I could do it all immediately, but I don't want to, right? Because that's not, that wouldn't be as enjoyable if I were to time crunch it down.
Yes.
So the first goal was just taking each one of your guys' recommendations to me and to experience it. On that front, no progress has been made. I have not progressed on any of your recommendations. So that's a quick update.
Yeah.
Quick and simple. I have access to all of them. I just haven't started any of them.
Okay.
And the second goal was writing a novel. And so obviously that is a much more strenuous goal, I would say, in terms of commitment.
Yep.
And that is something I have started, luckily. So I don't want to say how much I've done of it, because I feel like when I made the goal too, I didn't necessarily have a kind of amount in mind, right? Like when you're writing a novel, I feel like not having any prior experience, but just thinking about like novels I've read, in general, that typically, right, you have an end goal, but you don't necessarily, at least from my perspective and how I'm tackling it, I don't necessarily know how long it'll take me to get there. And so I'm not kind of gauging this by, having a minimum of like it has to be X number of words or X number of pages, but it's more so as long as I can get through this whole journey, that to me that would be a success. And so in terms of the length, it's like, well, I could say how many pages I have written now, but that means nothing, right, in the grand scheme of things. It could be 10%, it could be 2%, of the eventual total. But I have multiple pages written so far.
Oh, congratulations.
Am I happy with it? I would say, I know in looking at this and with how I write, it'll be something that I will like heavily like edit myself, I feel like. And so there's probably going to be this like multi-phase thing where I have a literal just first draft where all I did was like think about what I wanted to write, and then here's the copy, and then I'll probably make a second copy that's like, okay, here's my own edited version, right? So I've like done a first draft and I've edited it, and that edited version is probably the one I would be more comfortable with, like, oh, maybe this is what I would like, expose, but here's a, the primordial version, if you will, of being untouched, just kind of my stream of consciousness kind of writing. But at least I've started on that because that's something where I know it's going to take the whole year potentially to finish.
That's awesome. The hardest part is starting.
That's true. It's very true.
So does anyone want to talk?
And it's taken me like over a decade to start. So, but I have started.
But you have started. That's
good
success.
First step.
Yes. I can talk about what I'm at, but does anyone is Jiven to go next?
You got it.
Go for it, Tiffany.
Okay, you guys. So one of my first goals was to read 52 books this year. And
are you already there?
No, I am at 45. I am at 40.
Oh my gosh.
I'm at 45. So I've really been just reading. It's just kind of been my, my whole thing. The first game I think I picked up this year to play is Crisis Core. So like, which was literally like 2 weeks ago. So, and guess what? I am listening to an audiobook while I play Crisis Core because it's like a bunch of battles.
Go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like
easy.
So I'm listening
just pause it for the cutscenes.
Exactly. Exactamundo. Also, everyone, I listen to audiobooks at minimum 1.5 times speed.
Oh my gosh.
No, Yasser, you don't understand.
I'd be rewinding like all the time if I did that.
No.
I like lose focus.
No, it's these people are talking at a slow pace like this.
I see.
Enunciating every word. And so I'm like, no.
Every syllable.
Putting it to 1.5 makes it normal speed. Like it's essentially the speed at which I am talking right now. So that is why I do at 1.5. Anyway, yeah, guys, 45 books.
That's awesome.
And one of them was almost 800 pages, but only one.
Sheesh.
The rest are like 400 pages or less. But I mean, I'm having a grand time.
I will not write 800 pages.
Okay. Well, maybe collectively you might for your duology. Who knows? 400 pages.
I did not make a second book a goal.
Oh, okay.
Next year.
So then my next goal was to roll credits on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Obviously not there yet. However, I'm making my way. way. My goal, I was hoping to have finished Crisis Core by the end of March because I started it mid-March. But obviously not obviously, but listeners, we're recording this in April. So I have not started Final Fantasy Rebirth, but I am very optimistic. And then my other two goals were, I was not allowed to buy Switch 2 unless I finished 2 games. And guess what, you guys? There ain't no Switch 2 coming out. So, is this even a goal anymore? I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But my other goals are Super Mario Wonder and Fire Emblem Engage. I have not started those.
About this goal.
Oh, wait, I have started Mario Wonder.
You said you wouldn't even pre-order the Switch
That's true.
2 before you did that.
That's true.
And pre-orders could still happen this year.
Pre-orders
even though
will happen this year.
Yeah,
okay, that's fair. Well, you guys are going to
still a goal.
Yeah, okay, you guys are holding me accountable.
Yep.
Also, I do have to say that I do feel myself burning out from reading. very soon.
Yeah.
Oh,
I could see
Like,
that.
you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
45 will do it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
roughly
Tides
1.2
of
books.
change.
That's about 1.5 books per week is
Yeah,
where I'm
that's
at.
wild.
And so I am very much slowing down. I mean, that's almost also why I started Crisis Core. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, reading. Oh, I guess I could also do an audiobook while I'm doing this. So, you know.
Are you doing that
Yeah, I finished 2 audiobooks while playing Crisis Core.
while playing Crisis
Yeah.
Core? Wow.
And my goal was to finish Crisis Core while listening to the one audiobook that
Okay.
I started.
Listen, I have a question here.
Yeah.
How intently could you be paying attention to either thing if you're doing both of those things at once? I have to ask.
Crisis Core is battling. Like,
Okay, so it's like mindless. Is that what you're telling me?
Some of the battles are pretty mindless. In between,
Okay.
like the big set pieces, they're pretty
Okay.
mindless. It's like a PSP
Okay,
game
fair enough.
initially.
yes.
Okay.
And I can.
You can't do this with Rebirth, though.
Yeah,
We
I know.
won't allow it.
Well, I would never. I would never. No, I would never. Like,
Okay.
that is.
I just wanted to ask. Thank you for clarifying. I get it. now.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I mean, also, like, I feel like I could listen. I don't know why I never listened to audiobooks when I played Animal Crossing, but like that would 100.
That makes sense.
Like that game
Yeah.
would be the perfect. Could you imagine how
But
many
that
books?
music, though, that music
true.
was so good.
That's
It was
true.
so
true.
chill.
That's true.
Also, you're not averaging 1.5 books a week. You're averaging 3.5 books a week. There's only been 13 weeks this year, and you've
Oh, I can't.
Yeah,
math.
that's a
very good
the
point.
math was not mathing.
I saw
guys.
you doing the math.
No, yeah, I wasn't actually. Oh, Matt was doing. You saw Matt doing the math.
Yeah, Matt
I
was doing the math.
I pulled out the calendar on my phone. I'm like, wait a minute. How
Wow,
far
yeah.
are we?
Yeah, yeah. That actually does actually make more sense.
Yeah.
Because I'm like finishing
Yeah.
That's a
a
lot.
audiobook and like 1 or 2 books like per week. Like I know.
Yeah.
Also, you guys,
Sheesh.
I've also essentially been a gremlin. Like I haven't
Okay.
left my house much. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I've seen Matt like
That
once.
happens in the winter.
I've seen Matt once, like in the last 3 months. So it's like I'm just in
You've
my.
seen Matt 0 times.
That's true. Sad.
But yeah, so I'm just thriving. But I guys, I'm optimistic. I
Yeah.
also made.
No, yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like I made reachable goals this year.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
Well,
Okay.
and you're
reach.
making good progress on a lot of your goals.
Yep. I'm excited.
All right,
Okay.
I'll just go,
Yeah.
Matt, if that's okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
I definitely have not made as much progress, but I'm definitely doing my best.
I also haven't helped
I
you
only.
because I haven't even given you my rec.
Oh, that's true.
That-
yeah.
so
So
it's-
as far as, so that is the 4th rec. I was wondering, like, did I have a 4th goal? Sorry. And I guess the 4th goal would have been your guys' recs, which
Mhm.
I know Alex hasn't given me one, right? Oh no, he did. Oh yeah, no, we talked about it. It's Helldivers 2. So that one is like, I've made a lot of progress on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jack-
He,
Alex,
he helped
check,
me.
check.
I talked to Alex. I was like, can we just please make this the rec, because I'm loving Helldivers and you helped encourage me to look into this game, and so it kind of worked out really smoothly.
They should
But
both
Check out
tag
my
teamed me
fantasy
and got me
draft,
in there.
man.
Oh my god.
Something else on my fantasy draft might be coming out this year too.
Oh my god. Talking about Silk Song?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I'm not talking.
Wait, is
about
there,
it,
like-
but, people
There's
are talking
rumblings,
about
Yasser. There's
Is there?
Yeah. There's like an update to like a web page.
Oh,
Here's
I didn't-
here's also
oh.
the thing though. It did happen suspiciously around April 1st, and for the longest time I thought that was going to be an April Fool's joke, and they haven't said it yet.
Yeah.
So
They're
it.
just
Team
fucking with us.
Cherry, they don't believe in April Fools.
Yeah. They only believe in the
Got
truth.
Yeah, they're from Australia. They don't do April Fools down there.
Yeah.
Got it,
Down
got it.
under-
Is that
down under.
right?
yeah,
If anything, it'd be reverse day, opposite day.
salute,
Reality.
a little pra.
Oh my god.
All right. So yeah, we still have some progress to be made on the recs. I still am waiting for some recs, but that will get done. I have full confidence in that one. Books, I actually am surprised. I did finish one book. I forgot. I did it like really early on in the year.
awesome.
So 1 out of 7 for books.
Awesome.
Lower goal, but for me, like I don't read that many books. So this was actually lofty for me.
Mm-hmm.
We have progress.
Yep.
Solid.
Solid.
And then the next one was completing 20 video games. And when I said it initially in the goals podcast, if you double check me, I'm pretty sure I said single player games, 20 single player games I was going to finish. So that is not going as well as possible because only 2, and they're very short. But
That's
honestly,
10%.
I would ask.
That's 10%.
I would ask. Yeah. But I would ask if we could potentially update that to also be co-op, because some of the linear experience or the single player experiences, I've actually just decided to play with other people. Like for example, Dark Souls, I'm just doing that co-op now. I was like, fuck it.
That should count. That should count.
So if you count co-op games, I'm actually like 5 or 6 in. Let's see, 1, 2.
Did you really specify
4,
single
We've
player?
done 2.
5.
I've done
you
2
just-
this year.
I thought you just had
Yeah,
a
we
list
did, yeah.
of games and you were like, I need 1 or 2 from each category. I thought that's what you were doing.
Okay, but that list of games was completely single player for the most part. Like Dark Souls was the one exception, but all of them were single player experiences. So anyways, that's where I'm at there. I'll still try to do 20 single player games, but 5 games total, 2 single player games completed so far.
Okay.
And then lastly, it was really just training for this
Race.
Seattle to Portland, bike race or just ride in general, depending on how you want to look at it. For me, it's gonna be a ride, not a race.
Okay.
But that is going swell. Training is going well. It maybe not exactly where I should be, but it's still going very well, and I'm
Awesome.
very much looking forward to that.
Nice.
So yeah, overall good progress. Am I exactly where I should be? Probably not, but you know what?
This is
It's a long race. It's a long year.
yeah.
We have a lot of time.
It's longitudinal. It's the long con, if you will, and we're just
Yeah.
this is for fun. And this is
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
maybe some of us are
And-
more, motivated when we do make a goal. So we're just manifesting.
Sounds
But-
like there's shade here.
But
No.
like
No.
I just caught some shade.
No,
It's like,
there's-
I've done nothing.
That is not
Or
what
I've done the least.
there's no shade. Listen up.
But at the very least, I'm loving the goals, and I'm really glad that we decided to do this because it's been a fun way to kind of like see your progress throughout the year.
Yeah. Yeah. Matt, save the best for last.
Well, we'll see. So I had
Most
a
successful
more.
for last.
Yeah. So I had 3 goals that I can remember. One I've made good progress on. One I've made decent, like on schedule progress, and one I have not made any progress on. So I'm going to start with the one I've not made any progress on.
Is that
and
our
that's
Rex?
books.
Oh, books.
So books, I'm supposed to read 12, and I have read 0.
Really? I thought you read 1.
I know. So I started a book, got like maybe 20% in, and then finished up Game of Thrones. And I was like, I need to read all of Game of Thrones. Started Game of Thrones, got
Oh
over
my gosh.
400 pages in, and then
my God.
I'm there still. So like
Okay.
my ambition kind of got ahead of me.
Got the best of you. Yeah.
I really need to focus on other books that are not 800 pages or
Yeah.
800 to 1,000 pages.
Yeah.
We'll see. Like, I have some trips planned
Love
later
it.
in the year. Like,
Yep.
I have a
Get
lot
that
of fall
reading in.
trips
It's gonna be
planned.
great reading time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping.
How have you enjoyed the first 400 pages of Game of Thrones?
Fantastic. Loved it.
Yeah?
Love it. Like, I think Game
Like
of
you fully
Thrones-
recommend it
Yeah, for sure.
so far? Anyway.
Yeah, so far.
Okay.
Really digging it. If you like the show, you're gonna love this. Like, there's little pieces of lore that just like I am eating up. Like, I think this is one of my favorite worlds to live in. So I'm really digging it. The problem is it's just long. It's just a long
Mhm.
book, but enjoying it. Hopefully we'll get through some more books. Might target some shorter ones. Boost up my numbers, but we'll see by the end of the year if that happens. Rex, I'm a third of the way through, which we're a third of the way through the year. So like, I feel like I'm
Oh.
right on progress. Like, I did finish Last of Us 1 and 2 very early on in the year.
Oh, that's right.
Recorded a peer review and everything. So like, Yasser's checked off. I have Yakuza 0 downloaded on my Xbox. It is there. It has been downloaded for about a month and a half. I've not done anything with it, but it is downloaded. Yakuza 0 is my middle half of the year. It's going to be my summer game. So between April in August, I will finish Yakuza 0, and Alex and I are going to have a peer review. And then to finish the year, as far away from Rebirth as possible, is Final Fantasy X.
That makes sense.
And it's going to happen. Like, this is the rec I'm fairly confident in, because I'm getting stoked for it. I'm excited for Yakuza 0. At first, I was not stoked for it, but now I'm getting like more and more stoked. The movies. So I plan on 52 new movies this year. New meaning like new for me.
Yes.
I'm doing pretty well. Like I've watched 20 new movies so far this year.
Almost
Whoa,
halfway,
20.
bro.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's a lot. And this month.
What's
going on?
I
Yeah.
made a challenge for myself, and this is like it's like one of those things where it's like, no one's asking you to do this. Like, chill out. Like, just relax.
Yeah.
But I am that guy that's just like, I want to do it. I'm talking about like not having much time, and then I make this challenge. So this challenge for this month, I have a random, so kind of like the spinner from Build a Game workshop we had a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I have a spinner from 1930 to 2024. And each day.
How'd you choose 1930, by the way?
So I chose 1960 to 2024. And then my friend was like, you're missing out on so many movies in the 30s that are great. You need to extend it. And I was like,
my
fine.
Gosh.
So I extended it from
Jesus.
1930 to 1930 to
The
2024.
40s and 50s, though, nothing great. But the
Yeah.
30s,
Yeah.
He technically said the 30s and the 50s. The 40s must have been awful. I guess, there's like a war going on. Who knows?
really.
So every day I'm spinning it to get a random year, and then I'm watching a movie from that year that day. So I'm watching one
Can
movie
it be something that you've
every
watched?
year. It can be.
Okay.
Like, I'm really
but I
hoping
thought
1995 is picked, because I want to watch The Usual Suspects again.
So this
Okay.
challenge is separate from his yearly
Okay, that's what I was
goal,
gonna
ask.
or it doesn't need
Yeah.
to be new.
Yeah.
So far I've watched 3 movies this month, because we're on April 3rd. I knew I was
Watched one early today.
I watched so the first 3 days, I actually know the first 4 days because I already rolled for tomorrow. The first day was 2014. I watched Whiplash. The second one, I watched The Lady Vanishes, which is from 1938. Today,
Okay.
I know it's an Alfred Hitchcock film.
Okay.
turns
Okay.
out.
Yeah.
And it
I was
actually
like, I don't know
pretty good.
what that is.
Then today was 1997, so I actually watched a movie that was foreign film, based in Iran, called The Taste of Cherry. And knowing that I had to record tonight, I woke up at 4:30 this morning before work
Oh my god.
and watched this foreign film with subtitles.
What?
So I had
He's
my
committed,
review
folks.
in-
Wow.
It's like, and here's the thing. I got home today and I was like, man, I could sneak in another movie. Like I could get another movie. Like I'm enjoying this entire process. And
Yeah.
like the reason I've watched so many movies is like, I've just really enjoyed it. Like back in high school, I was like, I would love to be like a movie critic. I was like getting really into movies, and then kind of, I don't know, I just was a high school kid, so I dropped that pretty quick.
Yeah.
But like, this is like bringing me back to those days of like, man, I
Yeah.
just love just being in a different world for a couple hours and unplugging and like figuring out like people's lives that they're literally putting on the screen, of like issues that they've had, and making characters to display that on the screen is just something that's I just like can't get enough of. But honestly, through this process, 2014, watching Whiplash, which is the same director that did La La Land, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Like Whiplash is something that I want to watch again, and I'm like trying to see if Maddie wants to watch it again this weekend. Like it is, it potentially is one of my top 25 movies, and that's something that I
Wow.
watched through this. So it's like these 30s movies. So out of the 4 days, tomorrow is 1931. Of course.
Just all the 30s.
Yeah.
Wait, how do you know?
Because I rolled
He's
for
rolling it.
I rolled
the
because
next day.
I also have a tea time tomorrow after work, so I also have to get up early. So I kind of had to
Oh
plan.
my God.
So tomorrow
Wait,
I'm
so
getting up at 4:30 to
Are
watch
you
a 1931
able to
movie.
easily find these movies? Are you like buying them from Amazon for like $5, or like how
good
have you,
question.
or the library? Like how are you?
So I utilize Letterboxd,
Right.
and one way that I do this is like I have a pretty extensive watch list, but I also upgraded to Pro. And so part of that, it'll actually give me notifications when certain things from my watch list are on different streaming services, and you can kind of customize what streaming services you have.
Whoa, yeah.
It's like super inexpensive, and it funds one of the best reading apps on the internet. So it's like, okay, I'll give you $15 for an entire year. Like, that's not a big deal to me.
Right.
And so what I can do, a lot of people will put in different lists. So like I just searched 1931. And someone's like, here's every movie that was released in 1931,
right,
which is not that many. And then I can search and like base it on my streaming services, what's available. And there's like, oh, there's 6 different options. And I just read the synopsis of all of them and pick the one that interests me the most.
You know what, Matt? I love this journey for you, honestly, because like one of the things about book clubs too that I don't want to also join a book club for is that everyone's like picking a book or something, and I've learned I read specific genres. Like if we're over here being like, let's read a historical fiction that has 0 romance in it, I'm gonna be like, I'm not into that.
I'm out this month.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, but like
Sorry,
you're
ladies.
really opening up, like you're really going through a bunch of
Expanding your
diverse,
horizons.
genre pool. You're just like, let's just watch it.
Matt, if you do 1957, I have a recommendation for you if you roll that.
Oh wow.
Okay.
So let me know if it comes up on the wheel.
Okay.
That's oddly specific.
I need to make
Yeah,
a note.
1957.
Alex, is that 12 Angry Men?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, there's
Well.
your recommendation.
Love it.
Oh yeah.
I'm
Oh
gonna
my
add it
gosh.
to my watch list just in case.
We should. Oh my god. I'm gonna like I'm like, if you pick 1998, you should do this one.
Oh, that'd
Listen.
be funny. That can be your recommended experience if you haven't given one. Oh, you already did.
No,
for-
I did.
for-
It's Final
never mind.
Fantasy X.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, decent.
I really love this goal though, and this challenge
That
that,
was
you're doing. It's really cool.
2000.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pumped about it. Like it's something where I'm just like really looking forward to it. Like we have company this weekend.
And you're like, get out.
All right, so when am I gonna like watch this movie? Am I gonna like stay up really, really late or really like get up really, really early?
Yeah.
But it's like it's fun. Like I'm just enjoying it so much. And there's people at work, like remember your old office, Tiffany?
Yeah.
Before you left us? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like they're in on it too. They're like, what movie did you pull today? And it's like I'm telling them what happened.
Yeah.
And our other friend Cody, not related to the Cody that Yasser and I have been talking about, is just like does not watch many movies, does not care about the things that I care about movie wise, and he's just like, huh, interesting. And like it's like a 5-minute exchange we've had this week of like every day I'll come in and it'll be like, what movie you watched last night? Like it's just it's so much fun.
Yeah.
So much
Dude,
fun.
I love it. I love it. Also, the thing too, like I like that you give little reviews on Letterboxd. Interesting enough, you don't do that on Goodreads with books.
I know.
Oh.
And I've actually decided to try to hone my own. Listen, we've had this podcast now since 2020, right? And the theme of our podcast or the branding is recommended experiences. We're trying to tell you what you should be spending your time on, what little time you have. And I feel like I could still use a lot of work on verbalizing the recommendation, verbalizing the
Right.
rationale, right? And so now I'm pushing myself to write little mini reviews for books so that I can explain my star ratings. Like I've happily rated books with stars ever since I've been on Goodreads, since like, I don't know, like 2012 or something crazy. But I've never written words down and I've always been intimidated by it. But now I'm trying to, you know what? I want to live up to our podcast title. I'm going to recommend this book because of this reason.
That's something that me and Matt talked about when he got into the playlist and like reviewing some games that he's played in the past. And I honestly love reading reviews from friends that I know like what their motivations are for when they experience things like movies or games, or like what they like and what they don't like. And so I love reading those reviews and seeing like, okay, is this something that I'm going to like, or is it something that's completely not for me?
Right.
I feel like those like mini reviews help a lot sometimes.
Yeah.
It helps me remember a movie too, because I have
That
like
too,
such
yeah.
a pea brain when it comes to things. Like
True.
people that are into movies, they can like quote things really well, and I'm like, I'm kind of
Oh, yeah, I can't do that.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I've got
no
like
way.
a
I can quote Shrek, and that's about it.
I have like a photographic memory, but I have no
Donkey.
film. Like it's the problem. Like it's like I would like to think that I know things, but I definitely don't. And like one of the reviews, I listened to a podcast and they were talking about this rom-com that was like not well received from last year with Reese Witherspoon and Ashton Kutcher in it. I really enjoyed it. And I was like, I don't remember why I enjoyed it. I looked at my review and literally my review was probably going to be one of the most forgettable films this year, but I really enjoyed my time. Like, dang it, I remember nothing from that film, but I was so right. I was so right.
Yeah, for real. Wow, you guys, what a fun time. Wow, we actually talked for a while, so I'm gonna wrap this up. As always, it's been a pleasure with everyone. Please like and subscribe our video and our podcast episodes. Thank you to Grandmaster Doug for the tunes. And we'll come at you with another episode in roughly 2 weeks. Have a good night.
Yeah. So there's some utility in that relationship.
Sloof, little pra.